Welcome to the second episode of our podcast, Dare Ye Enter the Goblin Cave. This is where I'd have the theme music or intro music if I had any. Today, I'm bringing with me my friend Graham.
Hello.
That's him. And as always, it is I, your host, Gavin, the Vape Goblin.
I'm feeling it.
Thank you, Graham.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited to get this on the road. We've been discussing having our stories happen for a while.
Unfortunately, yes, it has been a while.
But that's not a bad thing. Now it's coming to fruition. This is everything that we've been waiting and hoping for now happening right now.
Yeah. That's
a little bit redundant what I just said, but yeah.
Hey man, your show, your rules.
There are no rules. No gods, no kings. You know what it is. Anyways, so how was your week, man?
It's been okay. Everything's going good, getting better.
For sure. Have you done anything cool lately?
Basically working on this story. I've just been busy getting my own life together ever since January 1st. I really made that conscious decision to better myself, to improve my lot in life. And the most recent thing is getting the story together and finishing it, as you say, make this come to fruition.
For sure, man. That's excellent. All right.
Because I've actually wanted this to happen. So it's not that I put it on the back burner, that it wasn't important to me. It's just that other things in my life came up that I had to take care of.
For sure, man. No judgments. I'm happy this is happening. I'm happy you're here. Let's get back in the swing of things, man.
Ooh-wee.
All right, and the way I like to do this, starting the podcast, you choose a die.
Okay.
How about you choose this die?
Done.
Odds or even?
Odds.
You would.
I would, and I did.
Go ahead. All right, 1. That's
an
an odd number. So do you want to go first, my man?
You know what? I wanna see the maestro go. Maestro go. I want to see him go.
All right, then.
I actually really do. I want to sit back and enjoy this.
I appreciate that, man. All right, let's get the show on the Rizzoed, as they say in France.
Ooh.
Yeah.
La.
Oh, je suis.
Ooh, oui, oui.
La baguette. So it should be noted that today's prompts are track racing and lost civilizations. We, of course, can choose to use either, both, or neither of those prompts in our story. It's because, no rules. They're just mere suggestions. I decided to kind of blend the two of them. Alright, I'm ready for spaghetti. Past a straight and roiling sea, and 1,000-foot-tall jagged cliff facing known as the Wall, deep in the misty and foreboding jungles of South Dracus. Through several mile-thick tangles of wiggle trees and stranglevines, past the wild thickets of man-sized, highly toxic doom-thorn bushes, behind the piercing eyes of fierce jungle predators which as of yet have no name, lies the mythical city of Sunspire. No one would believe you if you said you saw it. After all, how would you see this? Save for that all-powerful omnidimensional scope of a third eye you got there. The great golden disk that the city of Sunspire is built upon is fully visible only from high above. No one knows who built it, or why, or even how they managed to get the gold for it. It is believed that the 4 spires sticking up out of the disk's true north, south, east, and west are meant to communicate to the stars somehow. Thusly, they have been named after the various constellations, save for the largest and most spindly tower in the center of the disk, aka the Moon Spire. It has been said that the disk was once the gods' table, where they would sit and play board games, till one day in anger, it was flipped over and out of the clouds it fell to Skirth. Simply a myth, but it would explain the impact crater around it. It was something of a tradition here in Sunspire, that once a lunar cycle, when the 2 moons would straddle the sun for a time, the people would hold their most sacred and holy event. A bloody drag race around the outer rim of the disk. It was table flippin' wild, let me tell ya, Folk would drink the Doomthorn elixir, and select few would race each other to the Four Spires in the hopes of winning a night of hedonistic debauchery at the Moonspire. Peerless floozies, exotic beasts, triple distilled Doomthorn elixir, and just about everything else you could hope for. Also, cash prizes. Since the dawn of tradition, there have always been 5 racers, 4 chosen by a lottery, and the winner from the previous year. They were each given a heavy gold VIP pass. Though, in the days of old, it had not always been a race. It turned into one, through a crude form of natural selection, you see. The winners of the lottery were announced early in the day, and as so, every hot-blooded city dweller would risk life and limb to seek them out and hound them for their VIP pass. After a few years and a long list of casualties, one clever man decided to grab the pass and ride the full length on the disc, on Tigerback. No one who could catch him survived the tiger, so he won, again and again, till others took the same idea and ran with it. Or should I say, drag raced with it. Tradition is odd sometimes, eh? Yeah, they ride tigers. In Sunspire, tigers are bred for speed now. Some have longer legs and shorter tails. Some have the stripes on horizontally. It certainly makes them look faster. Our story centers around an old-school saddle maker named Brett. His art, that over the years has lost much to the carriage industry, including the life of his father. It is considered by most to be unwise to put anything on top a raging tiger, especially yourself. In fact, our protagonist is the only saddlemaker left in the city, owing to his father's death at the hand, or rather paw, of the dread cat Murderfang. Murderfang was once a wildcat, born free in the wilderness, of course, surrounding the city, till the day of his capture at the hands of the villainous hunter and entrepreneur, Jake. Jake issued a public challenge to the honor of the saddlemaker name. "You cannot possibly tame this wild beast. Saddles are tools of the past. The future belongs to carriages," saith Jake. "You must simply treat the beast with the respect it deserves, and it will willingly," trailed off Brett's father, Mitch. "Nah, I bet you can't do it. Oh, you're on." End of Mitch. The tiger was too hostile, and Mitch too driven. It led to his horrible disembowelment inside his own shop. The police never confiscated the tiger, quoted as saying, "Fuck that, he too big." And in the words of the grizzled police chief, "I don't get paid enough for that shit." So it lurks in the basement, meowing and peeing on all the rugs, meowing for another taste of human flesh. Brett Saddlemaker's Saddles was open for business the day of the event, as he always was, this time alone, selling his saddles to the brave and hopeful at a discounted last-minute rate. There he sat in his stall, watching the shadows of the twin moons climb fast into the sky. He batted at the blue sign reading 70% off, and slumped back into his seat. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, letting the warmth of the sun take him, and as he slowly let the market's racket dim in his mind, he suddenly felt a cold shadow overtake him, and the roar of a tiger raged in his ears as he shot upright, fully awake and alert. A man in a heavy black cloak, and sweat condensing on his face, was staring right at him. Can I help you with something?" "You're Brett, yeah?" "Yeah, that's me. We're having a fierce sale on saddles. Leg armor is extra, though." "I have a package for you." The hooded figure unceremoniously dropped a heavy satchel onto the ground and pushed it, with effort, towards Brett. The hooded figure sighed a sigh of relief and rolled his aching shoulders. Brett's eyes widen as he unbuckles the satchel. A large block wrapped in delicate white cloth is inside. "Oh no, I know what this is. Oh no, I don't need this right now," he thought to himself, and sure enough it was. He had been selected as the designated lottery winner of his quadrant. Briefly, the light did shine off the tablet, reflecting into his eyes, and perhaps, too, the prying eyes of some unsavory folk. He covered it up hurriedly, glimpsing briefly all around, scanning for any knowing faces and eavesdroppers. He threw the extremely heavy bag up and over his shoulder, and deftly reached for the shutters to close up the stall. "I can't even compete. I can't even afford a proper dinner, let alone a racing tiger. Maybe I could try to sell it. There are always those punk rogue types hanging out at the tavern, talking about all the bizarre shit they would do if they won the race." He felt he needed to be rid of this unnecessary object, and made his way through the crowded streets to the nearest watering hole, a tavern called the Leaky Jug, famed for its bottomless spittoons and interdimensional glory holes. He cracked open the doors to find himself in a fine-ass establishment. Floor seating and cushions round all the low tables, a fruity smoke hang thick in the air. He made his way to the front desk, not knowing how to sell dangerously valuable goods such as this. He figured it would be wise to approach the wealthiest-looking patron he could find. His eyes drawn to a man, garbed almost entirely in blue silk. His name was Head Puncher. He ran the local gangs, making a good bit of money, charging the merchants, Brett included, not breaking your bones and other stuff fees, TM. He approached the table and took a seat, while under the watchful eye of Head Puncher. You come to pay the fees? Yeah, and the fees for next year, too. Oh? Quite a bit of coin. How'd you manage that in an afternoon? Yeah, sorta. I got a trade. What is it then? I, got a VIP pass. The gang leader's eyes widened. I see. I'd be more than happy to take that off your hands. Why, I'll even scratch off next year's fees for that too. Brett was excited, but he decided to push his luck a bit more. Well, you see, I was hoping that, I could get a bit of coin too. For rent and food and the usual. Ah, right you are, lad. How about you meet my boy in Backstab Alley, and he will give you a full bag, and consider your debts paid, my boy. Oh, joy! The blue-garbed man nods to his friends sitting beside him, who bolt upright and head to the door. Not much later, the fight in Backstab Alley begins as you would expect. 4 men with daggers and clubs brandish their weapons, promising not to kill the boy too slow if he just hands over the gold. But Brett grips the bag and begins flailing it wildly, like a flail, felling 2 men and sustaining minor lacerations. He makes a quick escape back towards his home. He bolts the door, leaning against it and panting heavily, thinking about his next move. The men outside leave down the street and begin taking apart his stall with hammers and crowbars. Brett scowls and racks his mind for solutions. Only one does appear to him. Unleash Murderfang. But the screaming and bloodshed was still too fresh in his mind. Would he have the emotional fortitude to even confront the beast? The clock was ticking, and he was pacing. More gangsters began to crowd around his home. He could see their silhouettes through the window curtains and hear their grumblings. So he took the only path available. Down. Down to the basement that held the killer cat. He grabbed a bag from the counter, hoping it would come in handy, and unlocking the basement door, he pushed it open gingerly, listening intently. The door hung wide open, and some light shot into the piercing darkness. He smelled the lingering odor of cat pee and dust, steeled himself, and took 2 steps down. He was about to take a third, when he saw the piercing eyes of Murderfang glint at about his own eye level. Good, kitty, good, he said slowly, removing a fat steak from the bag and tossing it with a wet slap onto the concrete floor. The eyes didn't even blink. There was a pounding on the door, and some vague threats were made about the structural integrity of the house. He accepted the situation, and produced from his bag a handful of catnip. He held it at arm's length and said, "Come on, I need your help." The tiger, massive and fierce as only a wild jungle cat could be, crept forth from the darkness, intrigued by the wondrous smell. It sniffed the air with its cutie nose and approached Brett. Minutes later, outside the house, the gangsters were running scared. Blood and wood splinters rained down through the billowing cloud of dust. There Brett rode atop Murderfang, upon an ancient leather and vinework saddle, crafted by a master, his olive skin drenched in fierce sweat, and his hands were wrapped tightly around the saddle. Murderfang leapt through the air, paying no heed to the dead or wounded. Eyes wild, tripping hard on that good nip, the boy realized he could do little to control the beast. He gave 100% into steering it towards the north pillar, only just managing to coax the tiger into making an extremely wide bank north. While Brett was gripping the vines for dear life, he found a moment to look to the sky. The moons were nearly in place. Soon, the race would begin. The two raced through the streets, leaping clear over carts and apologizing hurriedly to all who fled the path of the wild beast, till soon the starting line was in sight. Black and white checkered paint over the gleaming gold metal of the disc. The sight stung the eyes a bit. Murderfang leapt up and yelped once he touched the scorching metal, knocking Brett from his seat. Whoa, hold on now. I got something for you, Brett said, as the tiger growled in seething anger. Brett put little white socks over the tiger's feet that protected him from the heat. While the tiger had a brief moment to adjust to his new footwear, Brett surveyed the scene. A huge crowd was being corralled by the local law, each shouting and seemingly placing bets. The other racers were obviously ready to go at any second, laser-focused on the path ahead. There, of course, was last year's winner, Larry, on a small but slick cart with 2 veteran racing tigers up front. He gave a pompous wave to the audience. There was Carl, sponsored by Doomthorn. He had a gloriously decorated carriage, far larger than the others, with a total of 6 wide banners hanging off the sides like sails, each inscribed with the various advertisements: Doomthorn Energy, Doom Ritos, Mount Doom It, TM. Apparently, there were a lot of Doomthorn products available to the discerning customer. He also had a total of 8 racing tigers, each with a short tail and one logo or another painted on their sides. And as the dark hand of fate would have it, there was the man who captured Murderfang, and gave Brett's father the near impossible task of saddling it. The carriage maker Jake, sporting a top-of-the-line prototype carriage, jet black with a big number on the side in blue. He himself wore the pelts of Murderfang's own cubs as a sort of horrible cape. There was a man on a makeshift pedestal, staring into the sun, getting ready to blow the starting flute. It was presumed that the other racer was dead. Jake snickered at Brett. Ha! One last chance to avoid being ruined, eh? Your dumb business model is irresponsible and non-profitable. You should have just worked for my company, you tiger bait. But before Brett could come up with a witty retort, the shrill shriek of the starting flute rang out, and the race was on. The reigning champion Larry and his 2 speed demons pulled ahead fast, leaving a billowing cloud of dust behind. Not far behind was Jake, whipping his tigers into action and crouching low on his seat. Murderfang stood dead still, his ears tucked back a bit and eyes widened, watching the macabre cape of kitten fur flap through the wind. A pitiful mew rolled forth from his kitty lips. Brett and Murderfang were woken from the trance by the bellowing of Carl, sponsored by Doomthorn, as he yelled, "Just doom it!" and crushed an empty tankard of Doomthorn Energy TM onto his forehead, while each of his many tigers took off at a slow but even pace. The rushing wind caught his sail-like advertisements, slowing him to a sad roll. With their heads back in the game, Murderfang and Brett bolt into action, with only minor slipping occurring due to the thoughtfully provided socks. They quickly began making up for lost time, but were still a ways behind. The race carried on. Jake realized he wouldn't be able to overtake the champion, who would nimbly move in front of him at every turn. So he reached down towards his feet and pulled forth a loaded crossbow, leveled it as best he could, and fired. Hit. One of the speed demon tigers got hit in the leg, causing the champion's carriage to go flying, sending Larry skidding across the scorching metal surface. The wind tore at Brett's face, and he realized he was not a trained rider, so he focused his core on just not getting flung off while he let Murderfang do what he needed to do. After the 3rd pillar had been passed, and the race was coming to an end, Murderfang gets a little bit hot and starts panting. So, Brett stops, dismounts, produces a bag of eternal frost, emptying the contents onto the tiger and rubbing it behind his ears, while Jake simply had a team replace his tigers at each leg of the race. Murderfang, though, speeds up and begins to close in on Jake. Jake drops an oil slick, lights on fire, but Murderfang leaps over the flames while some crazy bard busts out the opening riff from through the fire and the flames. Jake is losing ground. Murderfang roars and it scares Jake's cats. They start to run in 2 different directions, and in doing so cause Jake's carriage to drift wildly out of control and come to a stop. Then Murderfang leaps on top of him, and Kali Ma rips his heart out, then eats it. Instead of a snappy one-liner, Brett just screams and flails his arms about wildly as he watches the grisly murder, getting horrible flashbacks. Only after it was over did Brett come to his senses enough to undo the harness keeping him attached to the tiger. He promptly dismounts. Looking the tiger in the eyes, he musters his emotional strength to forgive Murderfang and set him free once again. However, before he's able to get the words out, the sound of 1,000 air horns buzzing rattles his mind, and Murderfang just bolts towards the jungle. Brett realized that while he was standing there, Carl, sponsored by Doomthorn, had rolled right past him and over the finish line, claiming 1st place. Brett was awarded 2nd place and a huge bag of rubies. The end.
Damn.
What'd you think?
Nothing wrong with a bag full of rubies.
Yeah, buddy.
Fuck.
But yeah, what do you think of the story?
I like that. That was cool. Fucking Murderfang tiger fucking racing? Tiger cherry racing? That's insane.
Yeah, buddy.
That was fucking cool.
So I have a few tiger facts written down here, actually. So just so the audience knows,
Love tiger facts.
you shouldn't fuck with tigers. Like, you shouldn't try to ride tigers. It's a bad idea.
Really?
You'll die.
Really?
Every time. You'll...
Every time.
Guaranteed. However, tigers are actually really nice, interesting cats. There's less than 4,000 tigers in the wild, and oddly enough, a little over 5,000 tigers in the state of Texas.
Oh, I believe. Yeah, I've heard about that.
I think that's weird.
Trying to save them.
Yes.
It is weird, but, hopefully they don't die.
Tigers can be as long as 13 feet, and they're all stretched out on an ice rock. And they could also weigh up to 670 pounds.
I'm jealous.
About the 13 feet?
Dude, I'm not even fucking 200 pounds. Fuck.
Yeah, tigers are pretty nice, though. I mean, they will kill you.
Yeah, that's
like,
not nice.
You remember that story about those kids who broke into the San Francisco Zoo? And they started, poking the tiger with a big stick while it was sleeping. Then the tiger, runs up and jumps over the fence and then murders one of the kids and fucks up two of the other kids.
Oh, then didn't they kill the tiger?
The police killed the tiger.
Yeah.
I don't think that's okay.
No.
They should have just put the tiger back in the cage and...
Damn, though, they built a tank for a tiger and it still fucking jumped over it. That's pretty intense.
They're just chill cats, They just want to be your friend. They just want to hang out. But if you're going to be, poking them with sticks and shit, yeah, you're going to get fucked up. Anyways, so visit the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation, and please make a donation to help save tigers. Link will be in the description. Use some of that huge bag of rubies that you earned.
I'm not that guy. I wish I had a huge bag of rubies.
For sure.
If I did, we'd save a few tigers today, right now.
I think so. All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a story. And this is a story that takes place in the jungles of South America. Thank God I didn't skip money for my boots. I'm not sure, but it feels like I only have about 8 blisters at this point. Guys, I say, let's stop for a second. I want to change my socks. Really? Says Jeff. You brought more than one pair for this hike? I always bring at least one extra pair. Yeah, Carol pipes up. I want to change mine too. I can't believe you all brought multiple pairs of socks, says Jeff. It was only supposed to be a 3-hour hike. Yeah, well, it's been 5 hours. We're still just as lost. And honestly, the only thing that's going to make me feel better right now is a fresh pair of socks, Griffin chimes in. Great, I'm the only unprepared idiot in this group, Jeff asks. No, I'm fucked too. But at least I'm going to try and wring my socks out. Every little bit helps, right, says Billy. I hope we all have enough water to make it back. How's everyone doing with that? I've got about a half canteen, says Jeff. Yeah, I've got a little less than that, says Carol. Well, fuck, I've drank most of mine. It's so damn hot, it's hard to stay hydrated, says Billy. Jeff shocked. You drank most of yours already? Shit, I don't know when we'll see water again. Well, that wasn't part of the plan, says Billy. Besides, you're supposed to drink water when you're thirsty. Haven't you heard the stories of all those lost dead people that are found with water still in their canteen? They save it for when they need it, and then they die of dehydration. The group's suddenly quiet. No one's moving as though somebody abruptly hit an off switch. Reality's setting in. Carol jumps in. Well, we've got to keep moving. Maybe if we got to higher ground, we can see some landmarks and figure out where we are. Even if we made it to higher ground, I'm not sure we could see through the trees. But I agree we've got to keep going, says Griffin. And in unified agreement, we set off. Who knows how long we've been going for? Every 10 feet feels like an hour. The sun hasn't seemed to move. Everyone keep your ears open. Maybe you'll hear a river, or a stream, or a waterfall, says Billy. I don't know if you'll want to drink this water anyway, says Jeff. You'll probably get poisoned, or some kind of bacterial infection. He's right. You're not going to want to drink anything out here, says Carol. We can all share when it comes down to it, I say. Share? We all need water, and I need mine too. I'm sorry Billy's running low, but I need my water for me. Jeff sounds a little panicky. Jeff, don't be a dick. We all need water, and we all need to get out of here, says Carol. How am I being a dick? I'm just going to give Billy all of my water because he drank his? Then where do I get my water from? The magic water fairy? Coming down and saving lives? Who's going to drag me out of here when I collapse? You can drag Billy out of here when he collapses then, says Griffin, getting upset. Give me your water and I'll drag you both out of here, says Jeff with anger rising in his voice. Stop! Shut up! Look! Through there! At the treetops! Through the little opening between the trees, I say, half in disbelief, half in excitement. I don't even know what I'm seeing or if there's anything really there at all. Do you see it? Are you even seeing that, or is it just me? Jeff steps back to where I am and follows my finger. That's something. That's something, he says. He starts getting excited. But it's not modern. That's nothing even close to being around here. The others have gathered around, all gazing eyes focused on one spot. Holy shit, that could easily be the ruins of some lost civilization, says Carol with awe in her voice. Maybe they're not lost. Maybe they're right here. We all turn to look at Jeff. What? You've never been here before? You don't know if they're lost or dead? There's plenty of undiscovered tribes in the jungle. We don't know where we are or what's around here. For all we know, it could be a tribe of cannibals. Yeah, maybe, but fuck it, they might have water, says Griffin. With a collective pause, we all keep moving. A surprisingly short time later, we reach vines and other jungle growth growing straight up as far as we could see, disappearing into the tree branches. Moving the growth aside, we could ascertain that these are walls, probably the outer walls to the city we seek entrance. Jesus, these walls are huge. Imagine how big the city has to be. How the hell are we going to find an entrance? We follow the walls, says Griffin, looking for any kind of trail. What other choice do we have? A deafening silence answers that question. Here, it seems to be less overgrown on this side, I say, moving left, trying not to think about all the things brushing against me and everything that could be hiding in them. About 100 feet down, we come across a clearing in front of a giant hole in the wall. We all take time to gather and look around. How you doing, Billy? Want any water? Carol asks gently. I'm thirsty, but let's see if we can find some water first. I join Griffin at the hole in the wall, staring at the peak of civilization centuries ago. Well, there's nothing around here. We haven't come across anything that can help us, we hear Jeff say from somewhere behind us. The crunching of footsteps sounds his approach. I suppose you want to take us in there, yeah? Want? Questions Griffin. This is amazing. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. I doubt we'll ever lay eyes here again, so I should take it in. But I don't want to be here. Under these circumstances, I'd rather never have known about this place at all. All I know is if this place was able to sustain people, there might be something in here to help keep us alive. Fuck it, let's go then, says Jeff, starting to walk off. I turn around and call to Carol and Billy sitting in the shade, Carol comforting and wiping Billy down. The city is enormous, rock formations jutting up everywhere, marks of where all sorts of structures stood. We found the streets with no trouble. They were made of big stone blocks, now spotted with moss and grass growing between the cracks. It's eerily silent. Great, so there's nothing here. That's probably why everyone moved. Or died, Jeff trailed off. I mean, we don't even know what we're looking for. What, water? Even if we boil it, it'll still be some of the grossest stuff you've ever had. Better than death, says Carol. Let's find some water first, I add. Strangely, none of us deviates from the path. I don't know if we've stopped looking around and now we're just moving forward. Did we all subconsciously decide this? Do we all think there's something better in front of us? Or are we being drawn somewhere? Suddenly we arrive. We now find ourselves at the foot of the stairs of the biggest ruin in the city. So, this must be the King's Quarter. Or a temple, says Jeff. Griffin starts walking up without acknowledging him. Carol and Billy follow right behind. I glance at Jeff, I suppose, just so he knows I heard him, and I take to the stairs. I can hear Jeff not far behind me. End Part 1. The Jungle.
Was that a fierce jungle predator? Perhaps a tiger?
It was 100% a tiger puma.
A tiger puma?
Yes. I don't know. Is it a really small tiger or a really huge puma? I don't know.
Gotcha. All right.
So, that was one of my first attempts at a story.
That was beautiful.
My absolute first attempt at a story for your podcast, which I'm, again, glad to be at.
I'm so happy you did that. That made me happy to hear. And I am looking forward to part 2.
What did you think?
That was good. Like, it was suspenseful. It was interesting, and it's like, well, it's definitely setting up for something dope.
So you see what I mean by when I said I thought I could finish, and I literally spent 2 hours after I got home from work today doing them. And when we were together, I wrote for an hour and a half, and then after work today, I wrote for another 2 hours. Yeah. And dude, I'm not going to finish today.
There's no need to rush it. Like, I kind of rushed mine to give it a conclusion that I could just finish in one episode. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that. Okay. You could just keep going at your own pace. You're gonna end with fucking 70-page novelette at the end of this. Ooh, yeah, buddy. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I can't find an ending. I can. It's just I'm not there yet. There's more story to tell.
Please, like, this has got a very good pace, and I want to just ride this wave to wherever it's going at whatever its pace is.
Okay. So you're happy with it, pleased with it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. It fit the mold.
I'm in.
Very all right.
Sign me up for part 2.
Rad.
All right. Congratulations, Graham. You have survived episode 2 of The Goblin Cave.
Yeah.
Thank you once again. You have provided all the music for this episode.
Fuck.
If I end up going back and adding some music in post, you will be credited, whoever makes that. As well as art and anything else you feel like submitting here. But in the meantime, Graham has all the credit for this episode's music. Yeah, that's it.